welcome to the Everything is Roses podcast. I'm Paolo Kumans, joined by
Raffid Mahmoud.
So today we're going to be talking about our reflections on living in Paris.
Yes, we're going to be talking about our life in Paris and how it's changed since coming here and how we've grown as people.
So Raffid,
Yes.
since coming to Paris,
Mm-hmm.
how have things kind of shifted in your life?
Well, there's been a lot of very big changes, especially in regards to just productivity and opportunity in general. Like before living here, I used to live in Pakistan, which is very different, of course, from the European lifestyle. And the cities there aren't as walkable, so you can't just leave your house whenever and go out for a stroll, go to a cafe, meet up with friends like that. So coming here was definitely nice in that way where you can just take a stroll every time you want to go out, clear your head. And also just the university that we were in, and you're still in, the American University, it offers such a good hub for foreigners in Paris especially, because you get to interact with English speakers and people from all over, really. And
Right.
that helps diversify your kind of perspective in terms of, cultures and lifestyles and whatnot. So I've definitely learned a lot from that.
Right.
But what about you? How has your life changed since coming here?
Well, I think overall it's kind of just shifted in that I'm experiencing studying abroad, which is vastly different from living in the US and studying in just a local school. So a lot of your academics are influenced by the fact that you're in a different country. And that's kind of what really creates the appeal for studying at a school like the American University of Paris, because it's not merely the fact that you're getting a good education, but also because you are being exposed to many different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're exposed to a different city, which really changes the way you approach things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know how you feel about that. And also, because you're in a different school now, the Sorbonne,
Yeah.
I don't know if that still is retained, kind of.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like, it's still just as diverse. And since people there predominantly do speak English,
Yeah.
it's the same where you get to talk and interact with people, even if you don't speak the same language as them, that being French, of course. But yeah, I agree with you. It's like from an education standpoint, like in Pakistan, we have the British system. And so to talk about that for a little bit, like the British system is very, in my opinion, it's very kind of harsh and very restrictive in the sense that you have so much to do and so many topics and subjects that you do in one semester, kind of.
Right.
And it's really intense. But the American system, since coming here, I've realized and been exposed to the fact that it's so much more open and kind of liberating, where you have electives that you can take and you can just dabble in fields that you had no prior experience in.
Right.
And you get to learn about those things while still contributing to the completion of your degree, because the credits are necessary that you get from the optional courses.
Yeah.
And you too you've taken like drawing and painting classes and media classes, even though they're not directly related to your major.
Yeah.
So how has that been for you? How's the experience been for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point that you brought up. You are able to experiment with things that don't tie to what you're learning about. And I think that's also pretty kind of heightened by the fact of living in Paris, because if you do classes such as drawing or something like that, and we talked about this in the previous episode with Amelie.
Yeah. The one before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And taught when you're doing classes like drawing or painting or such, or there's even classes of visiting museums to study art history or different art movements.
Yeah, I took one of those.
Yeah, they're all kind of heightened by the fact that you're living here.
Yeah.
And so I think it really complements it. AUP is known not to be a very academically kind of, I don't know,
prestigious school. Yeah.
Prestigious. It's more it's not too laid back as
Yeah.
you may find with a lot of kind of public institutions in the US,
Mm-hmm.
but it really the focus is that you are learning from the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, it places a very big emphasis on the Paris part,
Right.
where it provides you a bubble of American lifestyle,
Mm.
but it incorporates elements of the French culture inside it and tries to expose you to it.
Yeah.
If you try to actually be exposed to it.
Mm.
Like the museum classes you mentioned, I took one of those too.
Yeah.
They just took us around to the Louvre and Musée d'Orsay and these different museums around Paris. And it was very nice because you get to, it's basically like a guided tour
Mm.
where the teacher was telling us about the history and the significance and the methods used to make these paintings and arts.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was also a very new experience for me because prior to that, I had no exposure to art
Yeah.
and I didn't understand art.
Mm.
Yeah, and so that was very nice. And overall too, yeah, obviously it's very, very different from
Mm.
where I grew up. Like there's such a big cultural gap that even now I still find myself being culture shocked like every day almost.
Yeah.
Not every day, but you know, I find new things that are different
Right.
and don't really kind of correspond to our culture. It's not bad, of course.
And kind of like the day-to-day lifestyle, I mean, how has that kind of changed since living here? I mean, are you almost embracing the Parisian experience?
Mhm.
Is it kind of different from the stereotypes? What do you think?
The day-to-day is definitely a lot more productive.
Mm-hmm.
Like the emphasis on when you live in Paris, the emphasis is placed on you working.
Yeah.
Like French culture is about working.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very rare to just not be doing anything. Like that's very strange, I think, for French people to not be working at all and to keep yourself busy and active and productive. And I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they do take vacations, of course. It's very common
Yeah.
when the winter's here like it is right now and it gets cold. As soon as the vacations come around, the French tend to go towards warmer regions.
Mm.
And when it gets too warm here, they go to colder regions.
Yeah.
But yeah, since coming here, I've definitely developed a routine in that sense where, you know, I'm going to school, doing all the normal stuff, but I'm also, on top of that, keeping all of my other affairs in order much more compactly as well.
Mm.
Like going to the gym,
Yeah.
doing the podcast, and all the other stuff that I want to try out. And I'm also trying out some computer engineering stuff, some courses for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just not see myself doing those things if I was in
Right.
Pakistan.
So you almost kind of find a similarity with kind of the work culture because they take that balanced approach almost.
Well, no, it's not a similarity between France and Pakistan.
No, but
It's a
like you
different-
personally.
Yeah.
Now.
For
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
it meshes well.
Okay.
It's a good environment to be in because it encourages you
Yeah.
to follow in the same path.
Yeah, and I mean just like the simple fact that in France you need to take a full month off in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
That really kind of shows like people here, they look intense because they're either stressed or occupied by something.
Mm-hmm.
If you simply just walk, especially in the 7th, for
Mhm.
example, and you stroll by these like offices with a big window, you can see everyone just doing their
you can
work.
see inside.
Yeah, and
Very
it's
strange to me.
yeah, it's like you do see how work is a priority, but I mean at the same time also like you see how kind of dinner is approached
Mm-hmm.
and the way like families and just couples or even people by themselves will treat themselves to a nice restaurant, a glass of wine or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's work and then there's also life in Paris that it really is very visible to
Yeah.
even a tourist.
There's a very good work-life balance, you would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, I feel like the European life is very ideal in that sense, where work is given importance, but also social time and family time
Yeah.
is equally important. And yeah, in that sense, it's very, very good to be surrounded by.
Right.
But yeah, Yeah, it's definitely changed me a lot as a person. Just the opportunities and the environment you live in creates such a big impact on you.
Right.
It's like if you're in an apartment and the apartment is dirty, it's
Yeah.
filthy. You just can't focus
Yeah.
because you're constantly like, oh, I need to clean up, and then you can't give your focus to what you're doing. But if you're in a clean apartment, you can easily just give your focus to whatever you're doing because the environment is clean.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. And also what's kind of like interesting is Paris is such a beautiful city,
Mm-hmm.
such a beautiful environment, and sometimes it's hard to realize that you are in this type of setting.
Yeah.
I feel like you simply walk like 10 minutes away from our school and you're already seeing like the Louvre, for example, and beautiful architecture all around you. It can be simply just a residence in a small part of the city, but it's still very beautiful. And it's like I don't think it's very visible of how much it truly affects your academics and just your overall life here. Simply, you don't recognize the Eiffel Tower even exist.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of just there.
Yeah,
you know?
It definitely just kind of phases into the background after a while.
Right.
It's kind of just like there all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're a tourist here just for a few days, I think by the last day you're not even that like surprised.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That's definitely a very good point where you just kind of begin to take it for granted.
Yeah.
All of this absolutely gorgeous architecture,
Yeah.
which is like one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, it's staying here a long time can kind of desensitize you to it.
Right.
Where you just don't really stop and appreciate it as much.
Yeah.
And yeah, because you just see it so much. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And but yeah, as you said, it's definitely a positive impact too.
Right.
Just seeing all the beautiful buildings kept neat and tidy and maintained.
Yeah.
It's also a very big contrast to Pakistan,
Mm-hmm.
where we have very beautiful buildings and nature especially. Like the greenery in Pakistan is absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go up north to the regions like Gilgit or like the regions around the Karakoram and those mountains, those are gorgeous. They're on par with Switzerland in terms of the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you go more urban, it's more traditional architecture style.
Yeah.
But it's still not as maintained, of course.
Right.
Since the country isn't as developed.
Mm-hmm.
So coming here, that was a very big contrast. Just seeing how clean everything is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good experience that we often tend to take for granted.
Yeah, and it's like it has numerous hidden benefits. I feel like they're kind of invisible.
Yeah.
At first.
Exactly.
I mean, what do you think also about, just speaking of nature, kind of the balance between urban and kind of rural areas? Like, does Paris kind of provide that balance enough with the parks it has? Or, I mean...
I would say so, yeah. I think it provides a good enough balance because green spaces are very important, I feel like, to French culture.
Yeah.
Where it's a part of their lifestyle to just go to the park every now and then, to run in the parks, to take their family and their dogs to the parks and just chill, walk around. So there's definitely, like, even the very small parks, they're scattered around.
Yeah, there's
But you also have the bigger ones, like the Tuileries, which you love a lot.
Wow.
And there's also the Luxembourg Gardens and these parks all around Paris.
Yeah, and they're big.
Yeah, they're gigantic.
Especially in the 16th, it's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would say it's a very good balance. I feel like if it was like New York, where it's a forest of skyscrapers.
Yeah, I mean, you do have Central Park.
Yeah.
But that's really like only part of like Manhattan and the surrounding boroughs. It's
yeah. I think it works well here because there is such a good balance between the beauty of nature and then the beauty of man-made architecture.
Yeah.
But if you go to more modern cities, there it's just you get tired of looking at the giant skyscraping towers.
Yeah, it's claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Exactly.
Especially in downtown Manhattan. It's like you cannot see beyond
Yeah,
these buildings.
It blocks your vision.
Yeah.
And it does it with a giant, just iron building,
Yeah.
which isn't really too appealing to look at. It's cool the first day you go there.
Right.
You're like, oh, cool, these pretty buildings at night, they're shining and lights
Yeah.
are on. And the view is great. But then by day 2, day 3, you're like, okay, kind of tired,
Yeah.
not being able to see the sun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely prefer kind of Parisian, European architecture for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the great thing about Paris is just considering the fact that skyscrapers are not the most common thing here. It's mostly these buildings that, I don't know how many floors they are, but like
Yeah, typically
8,
like
7, 8
Yeah.
floors or something. So they're
Yeah.
not even that high. Of course, you still can get that claustrophobic feeling, but
Mhm.
it's not as easy to compare to as
Mhm.
what we were saying with New York City.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the great thing as well is transportation in Paris, although it can get very busy sometimes and a little bit
Mhm.
intense, is very simple.
Yeah.
You can buy one ticket for 4 euros or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you can travel, let's say, an hour, 40 minutes to an hour outside of the city,
Yeah.
and you're in just nature, like instantly.
Exactly.
It costs the same as if you're just taking the metro to somewhere else
Mhm.
that's 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
So the ability to just go in the surrounding areas are also a great thing about Paris.
Yeah, that's true. The interconnectedness of it.
Yeah.
It's very, very convenient. Like if you get the student card, travel card thing,
Yeah.
which is like 40 euros a month,
Mm.
it lets you take the train, the metro, the bus, and also the tram
Yeah.
to any place in the Paris region. Like there's the Paris city, of course, and then there's the Île-de-France region, which is
Yeah.
Paris region. And in that region, there's tons and tons of different areas that you can go to, which offer something completely different every time.
Yeah.
Like if you go a bit farther out, you have regions like Sceaux or Plessis-Robinson,
Mm.
and these areas are very like posh, maintained. It's basically where the rich families live,
Yeah.
and so they're very quiet, very safe, very clean,
Mm.
and they have these giant parks. Emphasis is more placed on greenery
Yeah.
rather than architecture and,
Mm.
and buildings and things like that.
Right.
So there's like, yeah, you can easily travel and be connected to all these places, and that's very, very convenient. And as you said, it's
Yeah.
very simple too.
Yeah, it's very simple. And you can get lost very easily, but in a good
Oh, yeah.
way.
Have you gotten lost before?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like I took I don't know, metro or something to one of the southern parts of the city,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just trying to visit a temple. I
Okay.
ended up in a park at night, and
That sounds dangerous.
well, I mean, it was dark.
Mm.
It was like I was along a highway. I was waiting at a bus stop, but the bus just passed me,
Oh,
so I had to like
okay.
walk. Yeah, but
Cool.
the cool thing is though, there is that part where you get to discover these not really as advertised areas,
Mhm. Yeah.
and there's a really I don't know, like there's a beauty to it because you really don't know where you're gonna end up,
Yeah.
and with each kind of district of Paris, they have their own personalities compared to each other.
Mhm.
They're very distinct,
Yeah.
which is surprising, right? Because you think, oh, I mean, it's just a number.
Yeah.
The 17th arrondissement compared to the 7th.
Yeah.
What's different?
There's such a big contrast.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a different city
Yeah.
in terms of like the districts themselves have connotations of like different status
Yeah.
and different, income and the types of people you'll find there
Right.
and their circumstances. They're divided across these districts. And then you have a lot of districts that are just kind of just don't go there kind of districts,
Yeah.
which I would say like the 18th, the 19th, 20th.
Mm.
I don't really know personally because I haven't frequented those
Yeah.
often. I went to the 18th a lot for work, but besides that, any French person I speak to or any person that has stayed here, they typically tell me, yeah, like the districts from 18, 19, 20, they're just not the best places.
Yeah.
And the best districts tend to be like the 7th, which is where we're at,
It's where all the tourists are.
Yeah,
The
and
seventh, like
the
that's where
fifth.
school is.
Yeah, the fifth where the Pantheon is and the Notre Dame and these kinds of, and the 15th also is very good. 15th, 16th.
Right. The
These are
15th
very,
is so different from everything. It's so
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
it's crazy. And the first and the second, these districts are like more commercial, industrial type
Yeah. The most
buildings.
popular it tends to
Yeah,
be.
like
Yeah.
you'll see giant long buildings, and it's going to be a lot more modern architecture style.
Well, the first and second.
Oh no, not the first and second, but close to that, like the third and the fourth, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Like near, not exactly sure. My geography of Paris is terrible, but near like La de France and
Oh, so
and
that's like kind of 17th. Like it's
oh, is it?
the more of the outside part.
Yeah, yeah. And if
Yeah.
you also go to like Beaugrenelle,
Yeah.
those
On the
areas.
15th, it's.
Is it in 15th?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, we went there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where we have Chipotle
Yeah.
every month. It's a monthly ritual.
Somehow we end
Yeah.
up there
We have very deep conversations there.
in Chipotle.
Of course, we look out at the road, at the people walking by.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's so different. It's like the modern skyscrapers, ugly
Mhm.
modern buildings. You have to
Mhm.
be honest.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they're uglier because they're in contrast to such a different style.
yeah, but I may say like New York City modern architecture is just much better.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, they're the experts in that.
Yeah, the Parisian modern architecture is very questionable. It's very experimental,
Yeah.
but it's like
It's like just
let's stick with the
stick.
older
Yeah, just stick to
architecture.
the old style. I think it's the Osman architecture style. I think that's what it's called, like the Parisian buildings. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but that's what I've heard.
it's not where you're going to visit when you're visiting Paris. I feel like. But yeah, I mean, it's still very cool to see. Like you have such a heavy contrast
Mm-hmm.
between these districts,
Yeah.
and I mean, people tend to be gravitating more towards the 7th
Mm-hmm.
and the 15th just because the Eiffel Tower is there.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just always looming,
yeah,
like a
there's,
guardian.
yes, pretty much. So
Yeah.
many tourists there, but I mean, once you enter, I don't know, the fourth, the third, or something, it's you
Mhm.
have a big nightlife, but it's more with locals,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so it's a very diverse city in that.
Yeah,
in
and
that
the
way.
districts are divided among like the touristic districts and the local districts too.
Mhm.
Like the 10th, for example, near Canal Saint-Martin, I think it is. That district is completely only locals.
Mm.
Like you go there, there's going to be so many people, but it's going to be dead quiet
Yeah.
because there's just families that are relaxing, having a good time along the canal.
Mm.
And it's very akin to Amsterdam, where you
Yeah.
have these buildings on both sides connected with a canal running
Yeah,
through.
that's right.
Yeah, and it's very, very nice. So yeah, if you're in Paris, I would recommend checking those areas where the tourists tend not to go.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with those places, but they tend to be a lot more busy and bustling and not as peaceful.
Yeah, like those are places where you need to go if you're gonna come to Paris,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't like linger there because like people tend to linger around the 7th, just
Mhm.
around the Eiffel Tower, but the
Mhm.
thing is the restaurants in the 7th are all touristy restaurants. They
Yeah.
charge way too much for
They're
food that for very mediocre food.
tourist traps.
And that's the only thing. Like, if you're staying in this area, that's what you're going to expect. But if you simply be adventurous and go 15 minutes by metro somewhere else in a different direction,
Mhm.
you're going to end up with actually authentic French food
Yeah.
and the real Parisian experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're near the Eiffel Tower, that's not the experience that...
No, it's a
you're-
very touristic experience.
Yeah, it's like the tourist culture is what makes that experience.
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, speaking of French food though, what is your opinion on French food and the cuisine here in general compared to back home?
Well, I mean, there's not many French places, I guess, that I've been to in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm already kind of used to French food in general. I am used to it, but I must say, unfortunately, it's not one of my favorite
Okay. What do you not
cuisines.
like about it?
I don't dislike it though.
Okay.
I find it very comforting.
Okay.
It's a very comforting food, especially in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you just get a nice steak,
Mm-hmm.
a faux filet, that's one of
Mhm.
my favorite parts.
Okay.
with some fries or something. It's very nice.
Mhm.
It's simple, but it tastes good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it like to me French food it's very experimental with
Mhm.
what they do, especially if you go to the smaller restaurants.
Mhm.
Very unique.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really anything to dislike in my point of view.
Okay.
I think yeah.
Okay. And in regards to like the other cuisines that you find here, because New York and America is so diverse,
Yeah.
but they also do it very well. Here, I think they don't really do foreign cuisine justice.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it depends where you go, but
Yeah.
I have to agree. Like, for example, Italian food,
Mhm.
it's very hit or miss here.
Yeah, I agree. Like
Um,
it can be completely amazing or just so mediocre.
yeah,
And it tends to fall more towards the so mediocre kind of part.
yeah, you're really going to have to be willing to pay a little
Yeah.
bit if you want real food. And
Mhm.
that's the thing though with Paris.
Very expensive.
Yes, I mean you can get food for cheap,
Mhm.
but if you actually want the experience, like why you came to Paris, then you
Mhm.
may have to pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's
the
yeah.
thing with Paris. Like you're oftentimes paying for experience rather than the actual product that you're getting.
Mm,
Like we have an example actually. We went to a cafe
yeah,
where you got 19 euro hot chocolate
yeah.
and I got a 12 euro espresso.
I think this was brought up.
Yes. No, but we didn't talk about it on the episodes.
Oh,
We talked about it on the unreleased episodes.
oh, that's right.
The
yeah.
hidden episodes.
Well,
But
that was
yeah.
unfortunate.
It was very, very terrible. The hot chocolate was so dark.
I mean, I feel like it's good, but like it's
Is it?
not my taste.
It's not
Like,
good. I don't think it's anyone's taste. Let's be real.
If you like really dark hot chocolate,
Yeah, if you like inedible hot chocolate, then hit up Cafe Antonia.
yeah.
It's in a hotel.
I mean, it's a nice atmosphere.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. You're paying for the experience because
Yeah.
there's tons of rich people around. You get to sit and look like you're one of them,
yeah.
even though we're probably not, just broke college students.
Oh,
So yeah, instead of that, go to Cuppa Gallery
oh my god.
in the.
Well, you didn't even like their hot chocolate last time or something.
What? No. It was their water. Or no, it wasn't.
Their
It wasn't
water.
them. It wasn't them.
Oh, okay.
I had a stomach issue
right.
after frequenting Cuppa Gallery, but that
Yeah.
was the first time I frequented them before, and I never had the issue.
Right.
In fact, I had chocolate pudding at your house after that, and that's when my stomach issue started. So maybe it was your pudding, man.
No, you see.
Maybe you're falsely accusing my favorite establishment.
Well, beyond Cuppa Gallery.
Beyond Cuppa Gallery.
Yeah, we're gonna ignore Cuppa
Okay,
Gallery
cool.
for now.
No, we're not. Go check it out. They have really good hot chocolate.
So, what is your take on the food here in general? Like,
Well, for me, because I grew up with Pakistani cuisine,
mhm.
and it's very flavorful. We use a lot of spices.
Yeah.
And so coming here, I haven't been able to really scratch that itch
Mm.
of flavor in my food.
Yeah.
And French food, I tend to find, same as you, where it's good. There's not much to dislike, but it's just not my thing. It's not
Mhm.
as flavorful, nor is it really the type of food that I go for.
Yeah, and it may be challenging for you to kind of go with even other cuisines because
Yeah.
of that fact.
That's
it's
why
very
I'm-
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm such a picky eater.
Yeah.
Whenever we go out, I have a very specific restaurant that I want to go to. Or I'm just, very picky in that aspect.
Mm.
But yeah, Italian food, I tried all these cuisines for the first time when I came here. Before that, I didn't have much experience with them because in Pakistan, we only have Chinese food
Oh yeah.
and Pakistani food, and that's it.
Oh really?
Yeah, because China, we have a border with
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
And our food is so great, we just don't need other foods. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
But I think I am biased a bit, but also objectively, the cuisine here hasn't been really what I think is an authentic representation.
Mm.
Like Japanese food, for example. I tried it for the first time here,
Well,
and it was just so mediocre and disappointing.
The
And I
thing
think
is-
it's because the restaurants
yeah.
just didn't do it justice. I'm sure it's amazing. I've heard it's amazing from my mom and dad who went to Japan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like the US, there's a very big parallel. There's a lot of kind of restaurants that are trying to depict the cuisine,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't do it well because it's very either Americanized or Frenchionized. I'm just going to create that term.
Just creating words.
Like, for example, in the Japanese places, and I brought this up, like there's the introduction of cheese to meat sticks. I don't think this is a thing. Like, I don't, or as popular. In the US, you never see that.
Really?
And in the French, and it's a French cheese that they use.
Oh, okay.
So it's like they're adapting to the French palate.
Mm.
But once you're, like for you, for example, if you're willing to try Japanese food, you're going to try a French Japanese.
Yeah, a
thing.
very hybrid kind of experience.
Yeah. And they also tend to be owned by Chinese owners, the Japanese restaurants.
Mhm.
So also in that regard, it may not be as authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's like the US as well.
Yeah, I think it's the same with every like cosmopolitan kind of city where it's so diverse that you just have other cultures representing different cultures' cuisines.
Mm.
And so it gets kind of muddled in that sense of you're not getting a really accurate portrayal
Right.
of the cuisine.
Yeah, it's like
And
Mexican food here.
That's true. It's always because it's been kind of commercialized, like Chipotle, for example.
Well, yeah, well, even like the actual Mexican restaurants are just like, I don't know, it's not even Mexican food. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I guess it's so popular that it's easy for other people to kind of just take over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's the same. Yeah, with Pakistani food too. It's very, very, very difficult to find good Pakistani food in Paris. And I think it's the same other places too, like New York, Toronto, London, these kinds of... Well, London probably it's easier because there's a lot more Pakistani people there. But it's difficult because with these kinds of cuisines, you have to really go to the place of origin and try them there. That's the only way you're going to realize or understand whether you like it or not.
Yeah, of course.
Otherwise, you're just eating, as you said, a very hybrid, kind of mixed, almost bastardized version of the cuisine.
Yeah. I mean, unless like you really spend, because the fancier restaurants, they usually do kind of give a better, I don't know, depiction of what the food actually is. Mm-hmm. But because of the price, it's like
that's going to be your only meal of the month. Yeah, as a student,
especially in Paris, like the authentic Japanese restaurants.
Yeah,
you need to pay 200 euros.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's like not. That's not for students or for the average person.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, if you're super rich, you can do that. Yeah, regularly. But yeah, I would never spend that much on food, to be honest. Maybe once a year.
Yeah, once a year is fine.
It's maybe like, you know, for your birthday, for someone's birthday, you just take them out. Yeah. Have a good time. That's it. Yeah. But you can't have that regularly. So it's, yeah, you kind of have to find alternatives. Right. And I feel like I do have a lot of good alternatives, especially Turkish food. Yeah. Like there's so many good Turkish restaurants here in Paris. Yeah. And I frequent them a lot. But yeah, other than that, other than Turkish and just fast food, I don't really eat out much. Yeah. I don't really eat out much in general because it's just expensive, unhealthy, and also like I live with my brother and his wife, so they do the cooking for dinner, and so I get Pakistani dinner just the way I like it every day. Right. So I don't really need much else.
Well, you got it good there.
Yeah, nothing hits like home, you know.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, though, if we kind of reflect on what we've talked about so far, I mean, do you think Paris fits the romanticized version of what people kind of think of it as? Or how different is it to you?
Well, it's... If you live here long enough, that kind of facade falls away for sure. Where it's definitely beautiful. And the beauty contributes to the romantic depiction. And you feel it for sure. Like when you go to like Versailles Chateau or the Palais Royal or these kinds of places and you look at them from the inside and you see the interior.
They're very beautiful.
It's like, oh my God. Yeah. Like you're literally in another world. That's how beautiful they are. Yeah. And in that sense, yeah, you're completely absorbed in the romantic kind of experience that it offers.
Right.
But then in daily life, you're not really going to go to the Palace of Versailles every day now, are you?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I feel like it's just, it becomes normal.
Mm.
And going back to what we said, it just, you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can't really even, you can't appreciate it every day, constantly.
Mm.
At some point, it just becomes normal for you.
Yeah, it's like anything really in life. It's you normalize it.
Exactly.
But I think what's very helpful in my experience is
Mm.
leaving Paris and then coming back.
Yeah.
That's like the real eye opener.
Yeah.
If I'm gone for just 2-3 weeks even,
Mm-hmm.
and I come back to Paris, I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I've been living here.
But
Like,
it's such a big contrast. Like,
Yeah.
you live in New York.
right.
It couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
And then coming back, and I think just having a break from anything like this kind of helps you open your eyes again
Yeah.
to the surroundings. So it's very good to take breaks like that.
Right.
And I agree with you. Like coming back, it kind of like you look around at the buildings and you're like, oh my God, was this always here?
Yeah.
Have I always just been looking at this?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, it definitely helps for sure.
Mm-hmm. And there's a real charm with Paris, I think, also, especially depending on when you're here.
Mm-hmm.
During the winter, I love Paris during winter the most.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's the best.
The lighting, no one does lighting better than the French.
Yeah.
That is like, they are so skilled at it, and they don't overwhelm you with the lights.
Right.
They do it very skillfully, very tastefully, where it's just enough
Yeah.
to just make you look, make you appreciate, and just blend in with the architecture. And it's such a nice, cozy, Christmassy, festive kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, so it fits that stereotype pretty well.
Yeah.
The City of Lights, as
Exactly.
it's always called.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
been very, very good at that, for sure. Like, even when I came here as a tourist, I took a ride on the Bateau Mouche,
Mm-hmm.
which is a boat ride that goes through the Seine. And you should always take that at night, by the way. If you're planning to come here, always take it at night, because you get to look at the lights
Yeah.
while you're going on the river. And the lights get reflected off of the river.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this city is gorgeous.
Very.
And yeah, ever since I've just appreciated French lighting so much.
Right. Yeah, and despite like the very cold temperatures, which you're guaranteed to feel living in
It's
Paris
so
or even
difficult.
visiting,
Yeah.
despite that, you almost kind of feel like you almost become numb to that,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the environment. What did I just
You
say?
became German. Wow.
All right.
The Europeans are
Yeah.
infiltrating your mind.
So like the environment,
Mhm.
right? Once you kind of become surrounded by it, just simply walking through, especially the Christmas markets
Mm-hmm.
and the lighting that you were talking about,
Yeah.
it's like the cold doesn't even matter. It's
Yeah.
just, and you can even get like a hot chocolate, or for example,
Mm-hmm.
it's truly an experience to, go through,
Yeah.
and it's very unique to the city itself. I don't really know any place that kind of matches
Not
that.
New York? They don't really have that?
New York, I mean,
Because New York is like the hub of Christmas, and
yeah, but it's
or
like,
at least in the stereotypes.
yeah, you have like the Rockefeller tree or whatever, but it's
Mhm.
like when I think of Christmas, I never really think of New York.
Mm.
I'm just never kind of wowed by the Christmas decorations or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
not-
because you've been there for so long.
yeah,
I've seen it so many times.
yeah, and also like the winter kind of aesthetic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It just Paris really dominates in that way.
Yeah.
Because even if you go to Versailles, especially during winter, it's
Mhm.
like,
No, it's fine.
no,
Continue.
it's the hidden smirk again.
No, it's fine.
No, it's
Continue. Versailles. Oh, yeah, Versailles. I haven't been there in the winter.
you not in the winter.
No. Actually, no, I did go in the winter, but it wasn't like lit up.
Oh really?
I only went, it was like the first Sunday of some month, because the first Sunday of every month,
Yeah.
a lot of the places are free, like the big major attractions.
Yeah.
But when I went, it was during the day, so maybe I just missed the lighting, but there wasn't any lighting there.
Yeah. I don't know if I even remembered lighting, but I think just overall, like, it was a cloudy day. It was a cold day, but it was just so nice for some reason. It's like the nature as well, and also the town itself. No one really talks about the town because it's always the palace.
Yeah,
Palace of Versailles.
my family really loves Versailles.
Yeah.
But for me, honestly, it's not my thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder
I don't know, it's just not appealing to me. It's kind of just, in the winter especially, the trees are dead.
Yeah.
It's just cold and open and dead, and I don't know, it's not my thing. It's not as active either as Paris, but also not as peaceful as some of the communes around Paris.
Interesting.
So it's kind of in the middle of not really my thing either way.
Interesting.
Like the palace is really the only reason I've been to Versailles. But I've explored the other areas too, by car and by foot. Just not my thing.
That's interesting, you know. People have their own taste.
Their own tastes. And you can be wrong sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's not. There's not a right or wrong.
Well, your eyes are telling me I'm wrong today.
What?
Very judgmental eyes.
What are you talking about?
If we had visuals, which we hope to have soon, you'll get to see the judgmental looks.
I don't have. Okay, well, you have a hidden smirk. So.
Well, I'm a very funny guy. I'm very. Said that like the Joker. Well, anyway, this has been a very nice episode, and I hope our experiences in Paris will help you if you're planning to come to Paris as a tourist. Maybe you're planning to move here, or maybe you're never going to come here and you just want to learn about what the life is like here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave a comment, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe to our YouTube, share this with anyone who will enjoy it, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.